Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to GEEXX Plays. Today I'm going to review the 2-year-old game Lies of P. As you can see, I'm being very stylish. This is not the outfit you start with, but gotta go with the style. So, what is the Lies of P? Lies of P is considered a Souls-like game in the manner of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, games of that nature. You are the protagonist. I'm not sure you've ever had any name other than you're being a puppet. So, this is the city of Krat, a once beautiful city. Alchemists and scientists in the city of Krat learned how to harness a substance called ergo, which they use to power robots, which they called puppets. They took menial and servile tasks. They were like maids, butlers, worked at like the counters at restaurants and hotels, things like that. Even some policemen. They were all puppets. Two things happened to the city of Krat. One was the petrification disease, which caused people to slowly go blind, and then their bodies would calcify until they would eventually die. And the second thing that happened was the puppet frenzy. So in the midst of quarantine, where people were hiding in their homes trying to wait out this terrible disease, the puppets went mad and started to kill people. You have been awoken by a lady in a blue dress to try and help find out what's going on and to possibly save the city of Krat. Your character, P, is a puppet, although you are a very human-like puppet. The only non-human thing about you is your little robot arm. See? Nice little robot arm to punch things with. Haha! Like most Soulsborne games, there is a variety of weapons to pick from. As you can see, I have a bunch of them. I have almost all of them. A couple I missed on the way through. You can also have more than one puppet arm. They're called Legion arms. So you start with the basic one, the left arm is steel. You get the puppet string as the second one, and you can switch them out. This is a stargazer. This functions like a bonfire. Use it to rest and do things with. I just want to show you what the puppet arm does because this is kind of cool. You can either use it to pull enemies towards you. This is one of the starting areas of the game, and I've beaten the game, so I'm way more powerful than these dudes are. So you can do that, or you can use it to execute. I've also upgraded it, so you get different attacks when you upgrade it. So you can do this, and kaboom! That's very cool. I like that. So you are exploring the city of Krat, dealing with murderous, rampaging puppets, and the occasional NPC who tells you to help them, and you grab loots. Ooh, I missed you. There you go. Da, 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 da. And there are ladders you can climb up and down. There are ladders and elevators and things of that nature. As with most Soulsborne games, this is a very dark story. People got sick, puppets killed everybody. There are very few survivors in the city. Ooh, and he was hiding on top of I forgot about you. He was hiding on top of the thing. As you progress through the story, you can see I'm also getting spattered with oil instead of blood. You can dodge, you can block. This game also has something called, stole an idea from Sekiro, you have a perfect block. If your timing is perfect, it's a perfect guard, and it doesn't have as much of a negative effect. I think it also counts towards staggering your enemies if you're a perfect guard. I suck at it, so I never do that. I never even try. I tried in the beginning. I do not try anymore. One of the things I love about this game, first of all, it is beautiful. Look at the reflections in the water of the street light. You can see that little. This is and the cobblestones. You got little. It's foggy in here. You occasionally get steam rising from these manhole covers. Oh, let's see here. Steam rising from manhole covers. Just this is. Look at the detail. I mean, these look worn. Everything looks like it's used. Actually, the least detailed things are the bodies and the pavement, but the scenery, like the buildings, this game is gorgeous. I cannot stop looking at. I will find myself stopping to just stare at stuff because it's just this just amazes me. The graphic quality of this game. This is hello. I don't think where's that light coming from? Oh, it's the headlight on the precariously hanging trolley car. So this is somewhat of a Victorian era. This is like a steampunk version. There are telephones in the city, some of which work, like public telephones. You can sometimes talk to people on them. There are a couple things I dislike about this game. I'm not sure if I should go over them now or just do a final review. Okay, I think I'll go over them now. So this game is very linear. There's no map, but mostly don't really need one. I think I opened this up. I used that ladder back there to climb up on this rooftops and then come back here and open this door from the other side. But again, like I said, very linear. Hello, goodbye. Yeah, this is the early part of the game. I'm going to one-shot everything. So game is linear. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't break. That's another thing. Things that look like they should be able to break or be knocked over and you just can't. So it kind of breaks the immersion. Oh, look, a dog. Nah. That was easy. Ow. Hate you. Oh, I got interrupted. Ow. Those bullets hurt. And see, he interrupted me. That is one thing. Another thing I dislike about this game is that you as a character have no poise. What that means is you can be easily interrupted. You really can't face tech anything. You can't just keep swinging and expect to not be interrupted. If you get hit mid-swing, you will get staggered back. Any enemy larger than these tiny little puppets, and even some of the tiny little puppets, you won't stagger them. You can swing at them all you want, unless you can't interrupt them. Unless you get like a big, heavy attack, you're not going to stagger any of them. So that's one of the things I dislike about this game is the imbalance between, what I can do versus what they can do to me. So there's like I said, there's all kinds of weapons. There's this is a grindstone. I don't know if you noticed. There's a picture of my weapon down the lower right-hand corner, and it's the little bar above it is down a little bit. That means my weapon is wearing out, so I have to occasionally grind it back up again. If you also notice up at the top, there's my red bar, which is my health, the green bar, which is my stamina. I use stamina to attack and dodge. It's a heavy weapon, so it uses a lot of stamina. And then there's a blue bar. The blue bar is something called Fable. Now, Fable is my weapon arts. I need to charge that up a little bit. It's usually pretty full. So as you can see, there, almost full. If you look down at my weapon again, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little blue single square with a yellow and 3 blue squares with the LB and Y buttons. That means if I do the LB and Y buttons, I can execute my weapons Fable art. Ooh, that's a good one. I leaped forward. I'm not used to using it against small enemies like this. I usually use it against the big guys, bosses, and elites. So, and every weapon has a separate. Like this one has Storm Slash. This one has Endure and Ergo Release, Wandering Moon and Storm Notice, Link Emergency Dodge, a Wind of Swords, Quick Upward Slash, Storms. All these weapons have their own special attacks. Ooh, Acidic Explosion. I never tried that one. Ignite and Retreating Stab. I gotta try some of those weapons. I've tried lots of the weapons, but not all of them. You've also got consumables. You have special grindstones, which will light your blade on fire. Come on. Okay, X. Yeah. And now you do fire damage. There's ones that do electrical damage, and one that does poison damage. Oh, here you are. You get one hit. You're on fire. Well, these are weak enemies, so one hit, they're on fire. Fire obviously does does like slow burning damage. Acid does slow acidic damage. The lightning one builds up shock, a status that once it builds up, they take extra damage from subsequent. They take like 20% damage once they're shocked. Fun little things. This lasts about 30 seconds. I've done some upgrades to make it last longer. And so that's some gameplay stuff. You can you have fast travel. You can level up. You can switch your Legion arm. I have these two equipped. I also have one that does electrical damage. One that as a flamethrower. This one drops mines on the ground. This one drops poison puddles on the ground. This one is a shield, and this one is a small cannon. I'm spec'd to these ones, like, if you can see they have ability scaling. These ones scale with advance. That one does not. This one does not. So the ones that scale with advance are usually like special weapons. These are like physical damage, elemental damage, physical damage. I think that does some fire damage later on. Anyway, so you have all these kinds of different things. You have some weapons that do status damage on their own. You have other little consumables. Some healing. Oh, that's Geppetto. Oh, that's Geppetto. I'm not sure I mentioned, but this is like a weird, twisted version of Pinocchio. There is a Geppetto in the game. He's the one who invented, or helped to invent the puppets, the technology behind the puppets. And he built you. He built you, the main character. There are also other nods. My little belt here, which I will light up there. That is a little, some kind of electrical spirit. He talks like a radio announcer's voice. His name is Jiminy, spelled with a G instead of a J. There is a lady in a blue coat. She is like the blue fairy. She's kind of your advisor and your guide. She also helps you level up and gives you advice. There is a black cat and a red fox, which are reminiscent of the movie. There is a guy with a dog mask called Alidoro, which is not from the Disney movie, but he's from the original children's story. So are the black cat and the red fox. There is Lampwick, who is in the Disney movie. He has a donkey mask in this game. I think in the novel he's called Candlewick instead of Lampwick. It's named something different in the book, but essentially the same character. There are all kinds of little nods to Pinocchio in this game, and I love discovering them. The gameplay, you watch me fight stuff, it's pretty much the same. You block, you do light attacks, you do heavy attacks, heavy charge attacks. So, you use consumables at your will. Equipment, you have amulets, and you only have defensive parts, and there's only 4 defense slots. So You start the game with, I think, 2 amulet slots. You can unlock these later if you choose to. Initially, you can only equip 1 Legion arm. I have unlocked the ability to equip 2. That way I can switch back and forth, depending on which, so that way I can switch back and forth, whichever is best for me. If you look up equipping both of them, my weight is slightly heavy. You really, weight is a major concern. Every upgrade you get for defensive parts increases your weight. Extra amulets increases your weight. So, and obviously in Souls-like games, when you get too heavy, you dodge slower. Let's see if I can make myself heavy. I think this. Oh yeah, that's heavy. Fat rolling. And this game also means you run slower, although it's not as noticeable. Let's take that off. There we go. So I'll show you some of the areas in the game. You progress from, the Elysian Boulevard through to the Vanini Workshop. Pronouncing things is difficult because it's based on Italian, so the G is silent in Vanini. You go through Moonlit Town to the St. Frangelico Cathedral, Archbishop's Altar, the Path of the Pilgrim, and the Mountain District. Oh, the Red Lobster Inn. The Red Lobster Inn is also in the original Pinocchio story. I thought it was just a restaurant chain, but it's actual something from the original Pinocchio short story. You have Rosabella Street, the Lorenzi Arcade, the Grand Exhibition, the Barren Swamp, the Central Train Station, the Relic, the Relic, the Black Seaside. So there are 11 chapters in the game. This is the base game. I do not have the DLC yet. So I'll just give you a brief overview of the areas. There's a gold coin tree. There is something. Oh, you can also. Oh, you can. I don't know if you noticed with the weapons. Each except for these boss weapons, these special weapons, these have a top and the weapon's head and a handle. You can actually break them apart, and you can take and put this axe handle on top of this dagger handle. You can literally mix and match your weapons, except for special weapons. This is not a boss weapon. This is the only special weapon I've found. I think there's one more, but I just haven't found it yet. But yeah, all the regular standard weapons, you can break them apart and mix and match. You can take, I know some people will they'll take the saber. I've seen people put the saber blade on top of the coil stick handle. That's a popular choice. This one has so you can just play around and do whatever the hell you want. So it does create some interesting combinations because they do different things. Sometimes the handles will scale. Things will scale differently depending on how you mix and match and combo your weapons. I have not done any of this. It doesn't really interest me. I don't try and really min-max in that way. But anyway, it's just something cool for the game that you can see. It says assemble weapons. I wonder if I can take them apart. Oh yeah, I can use I can take these weapons apart and then assemble them later. You can also my grindstone. Currently my grindstone has a special temporary grindstone. I guess I don't have any spares. I don't have any different ones. You can get ones that have different effects. You have to usually buy those or find them. You also have a wish stone, which is kind of like the physic in Elden Ring. It's a special item that you can use these stones for different effects. The difference is that these are consumed. You have to keep buying them. So it temporarily restores HP, increased stamina, restores Legion. Legion is the energy used to power up your puppet arm. You can see every time I punch something, that bar goes down. bar goes down. That's the basics of combat, and a lot of the basics of the game. The hotel's back that way. I could just run there. Which would be quicker, running or loading? I think loading might actually be faster. The hotel is the general hub of the game. There are a lot of NPCs here. She helps upgrade your weapons. The people to the left aren't here when you start the game. She's not here when you start the game. Ignore all this stuff. This is spoilers. The reason I'm up here showing you the hotel for spoilery stuff is this chair. Now, I've shown you a lot of the ways you can upgrade stuff and change things, but this chair allows you to access your P organ. And that sounds really bad. But this is another way you can customize and upgrade your character. Throughout the game, you will find pieces of quartz. You see the bottom. Your P organ is your puppet heart. It has a little alchemist symbol on it. Let's scroll down. So yeah, this is your heart. Your puppet heart. Now these are all when you first get here, these are all grayed out. But they have special things. For example, this one, pulse cells. Pulse cells are what gives you heal, is what you can use to heal with. So you can have an extra pulse cell. If you notice, these empty things are like these are full. So in order to make these work, in order to get the extra pulse cell, I had to put a quartz in both sockets, and enables another dodge, increases the number of fable slots, increases the length of time that enemies are staggerable, increased stagger duration, another healing, the extra amulet slots. So as you go through the game, you find pieces of quartz. I think I've got 28 or 29 pieces of quartz. I missed 2. I think there's one that you have to do something within a certain time frame. I missed a couple things because I didn't do them in the right time. So you can miss out on a couple of these if you beat the game before you do some things. But I would have only gotten 2 more. So I couldn't actually fill this one out. I might do that. But anyway. This is Geppetto's office. He's not here right now. Knocked over the books. A couple other things, but I don't want to spoil them for you. I've spoiled enough just showing you. Because I think Geppetto's office starts off being closed. You have to unlock it later in the game. And there's basically the hotel is fairly closed off when you first get here. But you have to unlock it. So as you progress the story, you're finding out what happened to the people, what happened to the puppets, why they went crazy, so on and so forth. It doesn't answer every single detail, but it answers a lot of them. And like most Soulsborne games, a lot of the story isn't spoon-fed to you. But unlike a lot of the other games, this one has more detail. There is more story here than there is in games like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne. You interact more closely with the NPCs. They have more dialogue. The story in this game is something that I love. It is well written, and I found that I actually cared about some of the characters. Not all of them. Some of them I genuinely disliked, even the ones who are my allies. But, I mean, look, you can see the reflections of the water. Like the reflections of the wall. This is so good. I love this. This game is so beautiful. There's like weathering in the stone. Like streaks from like Dirty Rain and stuff. They put so much into this. So you explore the various areas, and the story unfolds about the puppet frenzy, about some of the things about the petrification disease, and about the people that you've met. You know, the NPCs in the hotel, you learn their stories, and you talk to them. So, yes, in addition to the very tight combat and the very, very beautifully designed world, the well-designed enemies and bosses, the story is also really, really, really good. Yeah, I found myself caring about what happened to these people. Good sound design too. So now that I have gushed about this game, I do want to talk about the things I did not like about the game. One, the game is very linear. I did mention that, but I mean, you do need to explore, but it's mostly to unlock shortcuts or to find, you know, extra pieces of lore or extra pieces of gear. It, unlike some of the other Soulsborne games, you know, it's very linear. You know, you can't really progress. You can't skip areas. I mean, maybe you could, but I don't know the game well enough, I guess. I've only played it the one time. But yes, as I keep repeating, it is very, very linear. The second thing I don't like, which I've already mentioned, is that like my character, if I'm not blocking, I have no, my character has no poise. You know, it is so easy for enemies to interrupt me, especially if they can get off rapid, quick attacks. You know, I just have no, I have no defense against it. There's nothing that will stop me from being staggered mid attack if someone manages to get to me, as opposed to some enemies which I cannot interrupt. So those are things that make the game difficult. The bosses in this game are hard. That is not necessarily a good or bad thing. It's just something I should mention. I don't. But yeah, this game is hard, harder than some of the other Dark Souls games I've played, or Souls-like games that I've played. But having said that, consumables, at least the throwable items, like these things don't really last long enough to be really useful unless you take the time to use the quartz to make them last longer. But throwable objects, the saw blade does a ton of damage. This drops a bunch of cluster against the ground, does a ton of damage. This does a fair amount of damage, but it also makes opponents staggered very easily. This creates a poison status, which has them to take dot damage. These things are super strong. The smart pipe and the sawtooth wheel, those are mostly just for like when you want to hit something from afar, like and attract its notice. They're not going to do any damage, just more for attracting attention. These aren't that strong either. They'll drop puddles of acid or like electric blitz. They're not that large. There's a fire one too. I just don't have any on hand at the moment. But like these throwable items, the buzzsaw, the cluster grenade, shot put, body fluid, throwing cells, and thermites. Like if you equip these, yeah, equip these things. Like if you set yourself up like this, you know, do this, you know, so you can just keep throwing stuff. You really can cheese a ton of bosses in the game just by maxing this out. Now, to be fair, they can be hard to find. You don't get to unlock unlimited amounts of them until about halfway through the game. Well, there's a merchant that you can buy them unlimited amounts from, but they're still not cheap. You know, these cost like $400, 400 ergo pop. These cost like $470. So if you want to max out your inventory, it's going to cost you a few thousand ergo. But they are very strong. Yeah, if I've got, I did also use the quartz to increase the amount of them I can carry. I think you start up maybe able to carry like 3 or 4. I've upped it to 7, obviously. But even so, if you can fill out everything, you know, get maximum saw blades, shot puts, acid, electricity, and fire, you can pretty much just take down a boss or at least cheese through his first phase. So these things are very, very strong, which kind of, they kind of make the boss fights way too easy. There is also, or at least a lot of them, not all of them, there is also, you can't summon another player, but there are like a dozen bosses in the game where you can summon a specter, a spectral ally who will fight for you. That is also very, very strong. That will pretty much make all but like 3 of those boss fights a cakewalk. Now, you cannot summon a specter for every boss, so you can't cheese your way through all of them. So the boss fights so that's a con for me. If you try and like fight the bosses hand to hand, they are very difficult, but they've become easy to cheese. There are ways in this game to cheese every boss with consumables or with a specter or combination of both. But aside from that, aside from those things that I've mentioned, this game is, and those things can be, those things can be serious. Getting your head handed to you by a boss, unless you take the time to cheese it, that kind of takes some of the challenge out of it. It's either A, way too challenging, or B, not challenging enough. What was that? Sounds like a mouse. But this game is gorgeous and creepy at times, and the story is awesome, and the story is, I want to say awesome, that's too high a praise. The story is really, really good, and the game design is gorgeous. I mean, this looks so real. This doesn't look like a game in some spots. This is just also, if you have never played the game, they do tease, there is an after credit scene, an after credit cinematic, which made me squeal with glee, like a giddy schoolgirl. They teased the sequel in the after credit scene, and I was thrilled beyond belief. It was so awesome. If you've made it this far, I did stream this game. If you want to watch me giggle with joy, just watch the last few minutes of my final stream, because it was, oh man, I was so pleased, so happy, so happy. I am eagerly anticipating the sequel to this. I will be buying the DLC, and I will be streaming it, and maybe it will actually be better because I have managed to figure out my microphone was not recording properly, which might explain why I didn't get any views or responses in my last streaming sessions. So I love Liza P. I'm sorry it took me 2 years to play this game. It is awesome. I'd probably give it like an A- if I was going to give it a grade, just because there are enough things that I consider flaws. So there we have it. As always, thank you for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.